Here in the workspace, we have the basic HTML files here. We have links to the HTML file to the CSS file, and we have a title of front page website. By this side, we have a folder called images, which we are going to use all the images later on the video. So now within the body tag, the first thing we do, we're going to create a main with a class name of main page. Now this main page is going to be the whole body of the page. Everything we're going to work on is going to be within this main. Within it, the first thing we do, we're going to create a header. Within the header, we're going to create a nav, which is going to be our nav bar. So the first thing we do in the nav bar, we're going to create a div with a class name of logo, and we're going to insert a text of Code Dev Academy, which is going to be the logo text. For the Academy, we're going to highlight it in a span because we want it to have a different color. So now we're done with the logo. Below it, we're going to create an unordered list items. We're going to give it a class name of list items. For the first list item, we're going to link it to nothing and give it a text of home. We're going to copy it and we're going to paste it several times. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the second one to about, the third one to service, the fourth one to contact, the fifth one is going to be support, and the last one is going to be help. So I'm done with the list items. Below it, I'm going to create a div with a class name of .btn. This div is going to be having two sets of buttons. So I'm going to create the first button, which I also have a link inside, and I'm going to write a text of sign in. The second button is going to have a text of sign out. So with all this is actually what I'm having. I have the logo, list items, and the two buttons below it. So now I'm going to head to the CSS and add some styling to it. I've generated the font from Google Fonts. I have a margin padding of 0 and the box sizing to be border box. And for the font family, it's Roboto and the second option to be Poppins. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to target the HTML and I'm going to give it a font size of 62.5%. The reason I'm doing this is because by default 1M is equals to 16 pixels. When I do this now, it will change to 1M to be equal to 10 pixels, which makes the calculation much more easier, and it also helps when it comes to making responsive designs. So now I'm going to target the main page, which is the whole body of the page. First thing I'm doing, I'm going to give it a maximum width. The maximum width I want you to consume, which is 1500 pixels. Now I give it a width of 100% of the body, and the height is going to be 100 VH. Insert a background image on it, so I'm going to give it a background, give it a URL, and insert the image. Just after it, I'm going to write no repeat, which is going to have the image not repeat multiple times. And I'm going to write center. That means the image is going to focus on the center of the page. So when I do that, now I give it a background size, which is going to be cover. With all this being done, this is what I'm having here. So now let's add flesh to this our nav bar. The first thing I do is to target the header. First, I need the header to be fixed in the top. So I'm going to give it a position of fixed. I give it a top of 0 and a left of 0. The weight, I want it to consume full weight of the body, so I give it a weight of 100%. When it comes to layers, I want it to be above everything, so I'm going to give it a Z index of 99. Now I'm going to target the nav, which is the nav bar itself. First thing I do is to give it a breathing space, so I'm going to give it 10 pixels space from the top and 25 pixels from the left and right. For the background color of this nav bar, we're going to make it to be transparent. We have a logo, list items, and buttons, so we want all of them to be flex, so we're going to use display flex. We align all of them in the center using align items of center and justify content to be spaced between. Now, what I'm going to do now, first I'm going to target now the logo. First thing I'm going to do for the logo is to adjust its font size, which is 1.6 rem. I give it a font weight of bold and a text color to be white. Using CSS nesting, I'm just going to come below it now and target the span text. So just like this, I'm just going to change the color of the text. So when I do this, this is actually what I'm having here for the logo. Now let's add some styling on the list items. So here we're going to target now the list items. They are stacking on each other, so first we're going to make them to be display of flex, and we're going to give a gap between them, which is going to be 2 rem. We're going to give a breathing space on the UL, so we're going to give it a 10 pixel space from the top and bottom and 20 from the left and right. We give it a background color, then we're going to make the edges of this UL to be curved with a 10 pixel. Now, using CSS nesting, we just come below it and target the LI, and we make them to have a list style of none. We target the A, which is the text. We give it a font size to be 1.6 rem. We give it a font weight to be bold. We change the color of the text to white. And since text by default has underline, we use text decoration none to take out the underline. So this is actually what we're having here. Let's add hover effect on the text. So what we do, we're going to target the text and we're going to give it a border block end, which is the bottom border. We give it a 2 pixel tick and a white color. When we do that now, this is what we have it. So just with that, we go back here and add hover to it. So now the underlines are going to appear when we hover on it. So now let's target the 2 buttons we have here. So back in the CSS, we're going to target the div holding our 2 buttons, which is .btn. We make it to be display of flex and we give a gap between the 2 buttons of 1 rem. We come below it now and target the 2 buttons. The first thing we do, we give a breathing space between the button of a 10 pixel top and bottom and a 30 pixel from the left and right. We make the edges of the bottom a little bit curved with a 10 pixel. We take out the borders of the button with a border of none. We give it a cursor of pointer so that when you take over on it, we want the cursor to appear. So now we're going to target the text in the button. We adjust the font size to 1.5 rem. We give it a font width to be bold. And for the color of the text, we make it to be black. Text links have underline with them, so by default, we're going to take out the underlines using text decoration of none. So now this is actually what we're having here. So for the first button, let's add additional styling to it only. So what we're going to do, we're going to target the button and we're going to give it an end child. So we're going to select number 1, which is the first button. We're going to give it a background color. So as you can see here, the first button is having a different background color. So now in the HTML here, just below the ending tag of the body, because we're done with the navbar, we're going to create a section with a class name of hero. So the first div we're going to insert in the section is a div with a class name of form, which is going to be our login form. The first thing we do within the form, we're going to insert a user icon. So we created a div with a class name of user and inserted the image. So back here in the CSS, we're going to target the hero section. So the first thing we do with the hero section, we're going to give it a width, which is going to be 100% of the body. And for the height, we make it to be 100% of the body also. We're going to give it a display of flex because we're going to be having 2 divs. The form, the section for the form, and the section for the content.
Hey, if you have been trying to learn web development but HTML and CSS keep confusing you, then this is for you. I have put together a complete HTML and CSS course that takes you from zero to building a real website step by step. No boring theories, just projects and clear explanation. Some of the insight you will get from this course, you're going to have a clear lesson that breaks everything down for you. You're also going to work with real projects that you can actually add to your portfolio. Not just that, you're going to get tips and best practice that pro developers use. And one of the best part is you're going to get access to CodeDev Academy Discord community, which you're going to use it to get help whenever you're stuck. So if you've been looking for one place that gives you everything to master HTML and CSS with confidence, then this course is that package. Start learning today and keep building from here. The link is in the description box.
So we make them to be flexed. We give it an align item of center and justify content is going to be spaced between. We're going to give a padding on the form. So we're going to give it a 10 pixel space from the top and bottom and 25 pixel from the left and right. Now we're going to target the form itself. So the first thing we do for the form, we're going to give it a width, which is going to be 200 pixel. We move on to give it a height, which is going to be auto, so it's going to adjust itself based on the content inside. We give the form to have a background color, which we're going to use transparent for that. We give the form to have a padding. For the padding, we use 2M from the top and bottom and 1M from the left and right. We make the form to have a display of flex because we're going to be having buttons, input, and links in the button. So we align items in the center and we give a flex direction to be column. So this is actually what we're having here. Now we're going to target the left and the right borders. So we head back here. What we're going to do, we're going to give it a border inline start, which is the left border, and we give it a 1 pixel solid white. We give it a border inline end, which is the right border, 1 pixel solid white also. So this is actually what we're having here. What we're going to do, we're going to give it a border radius because we want the edges to be curved with a 3m. We give a space from the top of the form to be 4m. Now we will hover on the form, we want the cursor to appear. So now we're going to target the user icon. First, we're going to give it to have a weight of 120 pixels. We give it a height also of 120 pixels. Now we're going to target the image, which is the icon itself. We give it a width of 100% and a height of 100%. We want it to be in a cycle, so we're going to give it a border radius of 50%. We want it to have a thick border, so we make it to be 6 pixels solid, then we insert the color. This is actually what we're having. So now let's go back. We want, when we hover on the form itself, we want a changes to happen. So we target the form and give it a hover. We're going to give it a box shadow to be 0, 0, 10 pixel broad, and we give it this color. So this is actually what we're having. So now below this user icon, we're going to create a div with a class name of input box. This input box is going to contain our input. So for the first input, we're going to make it to be email, and we're going to give it a placeholder. For the placeholder, we're going to have a text of enter your email. We're going to copy this input box div and we're going to paste it below, which is going to be our second input box. We're going to leave it to have the same class name, and we're going to change the inputs to be password and the placeholder to be also enter your password. Now we have two input, an email and a password. Below it now we're going to create a button, and this button is going to have a text of login. Below the login, we're also going to have a div with a class name of info. Within this info, we're going to have a paragraph and a link. For the paragraph here, the first thing we do, we're going to create a span and we're going to insert an input inside, which is going to have a type of checkbox. After the span, we're going to insert a text of forget password. We come below it now and create a link. We link it to nothing and insert a text of register now. So now we're done with the form. We head to the CSS and style this form. So the first thing we do in the CSS now, we're going to target the input box. We give it a margin from the top to be 10 pixels. We give the input box to have a width of 100% of its parent container, which is the form. Now we come below it now and target the input itself. We give it a padding, which is 10 pixels from the top and bottom and 15 from the left and right. We give it a width of 100%. Now we need to give it a background color, which we're going to use transparent for that. For the border, we're going to make it to be 1 pixel solid and we're going to give it a color. We want the edges of the input to be curved, so we're going to give it a 1.5 frame. Margin block, which is the top and bottom, so we're going to make it to have a 2m. We're going to change the color of the text in the input to white. And for the outline, we're going to make them to be none. So this is actually what we're having here. Now we're going to target now the button. So we're going to target the form and now target the button. So the first thing we want for the button, we're going to give it a width of 100%. We give it a padding of 15 pixels from the top and bottom and 15 from the left and right. We give the button to have a background color, and we give the text in the button to also have its color, which is white. We take out the borders for the button, which we make the border none. We want the edges of the button to be curved, so we make it to be 2m. We give a space from the top of the border, which is margin top and bottom to be 20 pixels and from the left and right to be 0. We increase the font size of the text in the button to 1.4m and give a letter spacing to be 1 pixel. For the font weight, we make it to be bold. And we want, when you hover on the button, we want the cursor to appear, so we make it a cursor of pointer. So this is actually what we're having for the form. Now we're going to target the info, which is having our checkbox, paragraph, and links. We give it a width of 100%, and we make it a display of flex. We align items in center, and justify content is going to be spaced within. You give a margin block n, which is the bottom border, to be 1m. And now the first thing we do, we're going to target now the paragraph. We give it a font size to be 1.5 frame, and the font weight to be bold. We give the text to have a color of white. So this is actually what we're having. Now we're going to target now the next text. We're going to target the form, target the info, and target the link. We're going to take out the underline for the link using text decoration of none. And we're going to give it a font size, which is going to be 1.5 frame. We give it font weight to be 600, and we give the text to have a color of white. So this is actually what we're having here. Now by the right hand of this page, we're going to add content to it. So we head back to the HTML. Just below the ending of the form, we are going to create a div with a class name of content, which is going to have h1 paragraph and social icons. The first thing we do is to create a h1 and insert a text of welcome. Below it, we're going to create a paragraph and insert a lorem text. When we're done with that, we're going to create a div with a class name of social, which is going to have our social icons. We're going to create a span and we're going to paste it 4 times. The first span, we insert an emoji of facebook.png, so as all the spans that are remaining. We head back to CSS and add some styling to it. The first thing we do, we're going to target the div with a class name of content. The first thing we do for the content, we're going to give it a max width, which is going to be 100% of the body. We give it a padding, 2 from the top and bottom and 3 from the left and right. Now we're going to target the H1. The first thing we do for the H1, we're going to adjust the font size. We give it to have a font size of 7 because we want it to be a little bit big. We make the font weight to be bold and we change the color of the text to white. Now we're going to target the paragraph. We're going to give the paragraph to have a color of white smoke, and we're going to adjust the font size to be 1.3 rem. We give it a font weight to be bold, and we give it a max weight to be 400 pixels. Now we're going to target the social icons. We're going to give it a margin from the top, which is going to be 2 We make all the social icons to be display of inline flex. We give a gap between the social icons of 3 rem. Now we target the image itself. We give it a weight of 32 pixels. We give it a height of 32 pixels also. We give the images now to have a background color of white. Now we curve the edges of the image to 50%. We add a cursor of pointer on the images. Now what we're going to do, we're going to target the image itself. We're going to give it a border radius of 00 with a 20 pixel blur to spread 5 pixels with a white color. Now this is actually what we're having here. So let's make some adjustments. In the image here, we add a hover on it. So now when we hover, this is where the box shadow will appear. If you want the source code to this project, the link is in the description box, or check my bio, you find the link there. And I believe you also like this video where I did a step-by-step tutorial on how to create a Cristiano Ronaldo fan page. Check this video out.